Late today. Sorry about that, y'all. I was busy recording an amazing podcast on a podcast called The Life You Crave. And it was such a great conversation that it went long. Shocking, I'm sure, if you are familiar with my content. I imagine that you are very surprised that a conversation with me went long. All right, let's get into this because this is going to be such a powerful and important conversation. It is one of my favorites of the liberating assumptions because it is so relevant in so many places of our life and our relationships, and it really does have the power to change everything. I mean, I know I kind of like say that a lot, and it's true a lot, and it's like, if there can be a more true, this is almost like a more true. So, you know the problem that you've been having in your relationship, right? Like the one or the many that you haven't been able to figure out or fix? Yeah. Well, here's why you haven't been able to figure out or fix it. It's not actually the problem. If you find that hard to believe, then you definitely need to stick around because that's exactly what I'm getting into today. Welcome to another Catalyst conversation in the Relationship Revolution, where we challenge the unquestioned assumptions about love and relationships, flip the script on what you've been taught, and reveal the truths that no one's taught you. And this month, I've been diving into what I call liberating assumptions. Liberating as in breaking free, assumptions as in the truths that you've been taught that actually are keeping you stuck. Each one of these liberating assumptions is designed to set you free from the lies and limits that have been holding you back in your relationship so that you can step into love and the power that has been there all along. I've been doing a lot of talking. So, also, I need a blanket on my lap. I don't know about you all, but like even when it's warm out, I can't sit without a blanket on my lap. It's a comfort thing. I don't know. I just love it. I'm probably going to sweat because this is a heating blanket and I don't really need it heated right now, but it's on because it was colder earlier. Anyways, today, like I said, we are talking about one of my favorite liberating assumptions, which is this: the problem is not the problem. And here's why this matters, friends. Most couples waste years trying to fix the wrong thing. Right? They circle around the same arguments, repeat the same frustrations, the same conflicts, never getting traction, feeling like they're just butting their heads up against a wall, losing patience, losing hope, losing love. And it's all because they're aiming at the wrong target. No longer, my friend. Today, I want to liberate you from that pattern and empower you with the truth about what's really wrong, like what really has been the problem, so you can break free and start solving what's actually keeping you from experiencing the ease, connection, intimacy, joy, and love that you're longing for. As always, this conversation might challenge you. It's meant to. It might make you uncomfortable. That's okay. I got you. And it might just set you free. That's the hope. If something in today's conversation moves you and you know that you want to go deeper in this work, I want to invite you to join me in the Relationship Revolution membership program. That is your space to practice these liberating truths week by week with extra support and integration exercises and community for only $147 a month. I'll share more at the end, but I just wanted to make that little plug here in case I lose you along the way. Sound good? All right. Let me also introduce myself for those of you who may be new to me and to my work. My name is Dr. Jenny Wallig. I am an award-winning relationship mentor, speaker, author, and educator, and I am a disruptor, a proud disruptor, on a mission to make this world a better place through more conscious and evolved relationships. I believe that most of the suffering in our world is caused by relationships that aren't working. And the reason that they aren't working is because no one has bothered to teach us how to do them consciously. And most of us don't realize that we ourselves have the power to transform our relationships without waiting for anything or anyone else to change. That's right. It doesn't take two. It starts with one, with you, love. So I work primarily with women entrepreneurs who desire legendary marriages, the kind that fill their souls, lift them higher, and support their missions and all of their dreams. And I do this even if their spouse isn't willing or ready to do the work with them at first. And yes, if their spouse does want to do the work with them, I work with them too. And in fact, I get to bring my partner and soulmate, Calvin, into the work. In these catalyst conversations and in everything we do at Powerful Love, which, by the way, was founded by me and Calvin. I'm going to give credit where credit is due, right? It's not just my business. Like this is the co-creation of both of us. It's just that I like talking more, and so I do these videos. But he is brilliant in leading people through relationship stuff. Side note, okay. In these catalyst conversations and in everything we do at Powerful Love, the goal isn't just to teach you relationship skills and how to do them better, right? It is to redefine and unlock what is possible and to empower you, fellow visionary, to have the relationship that you desire and deserve without having to wait on anyone else to get it. So, ready? Let's get into this one. All right, so let's break this open. Today's liberating assumption in its entirety is this. Ready for it? The problem is not the problem. The problem is the way you're dealing with the problem. Let me say that one again. The problem is not the problem. The way you're dealing with the problem is the problem. Got it? So it's not the messy kitchen or the lack of sex or the different parenting styles or even the defensiveness or the communication skills. None of that's the problem, love. It is how you are dealing with those things. It's how you are thinking about, reacting to it, fighting each other about it. Now, you could say, well, it's also how he's doing it or she or they are doing it. Okay, sure. But you can't control them. You can only control you. And that's a whole other conversation because the way you act/react is 100% going to influence the way they act and react. So you figuring out how you want to respond to the problem is your best way to influence and affect how they're responding to the problem. So let's focus on where you have power, right? And listen, there are an unlimited number of ways to think about, experience, and respond to any situation. But most of us only know one or two, can think about, can only come up with one or two. In fact, I was just talking to a client yesterday, and he was sharing a story about his wife who when he would come home from long days of work, like didn't seem to want to interact with him and would kind of ignore him for a while, be on her phone, and then go up to the bedroom. And when he finally came up to the bedroom, then she seemed willing to engage. And he was like, I don't understand what is so like horrible about me when I get home that she, can't engage with me. And I was like, I don't know, like maybe that's not the reason. Maybe the reason she's not engaging with you isn't because you're horrible or because she's upset with you. Maybe there's another reason she's not engaging with you when you first come in the door, but is ready to engage with you, 45 minutes later when she's in bed. I don't know. She's not here to ask. What could those reasons be? And he's like, I have no idea. My brain is logical. And the only logical explanation I can think of is that she must be upset with me or she must not like me. Like he could not think about any other explanation except that one. And in that conclusion, right? Like I work my ass off all day. I come home, I'm excited to see my wife, and she doesn't even want to interact with me, except somehow later, 45 minutes when she's in bed, and it's like time to go to sleep. Now she's ready? Like, what the hell? What gives? And it didn't make sense to him. These are the moments, all of these moments, right? Like how we respond to that problem. And that was just how he was thinking about it, right? Like we're not even talking about um, how he feels about it and then what he's doing about it. Those are all options that he has. And in those options is where his power lies to change the outcome, right? And what he's doing, the way he's thinking about it, the way he's feeling about it, and his response to it, that's the real problem. That's the reason that nothing is changing. Does that make sense? So there are many, many more options than you realize for how we respond to problems that show up in our relationship. And developing your ability to shift those three primary pieces of experience is the key to unlocking your ability to successfully navigate problems. Okay? And let me bring you back into clarity around what these three pieces of experience are that I'm talking about. One, your perception. That is how you're making sense of or thinking about the thing that's happening, the problem, right? We're talking surface level problem, not the real problem. So, how you are thinking about the messy kitchen, how you are thinking about the communication breakdowns, okay? Your perception of it. Second, is your experience of it. That's what it means, how you feel about it, the story you're telling, okay? Your experience. So it's that like, it means you don't care about me. I feel unloved. It means she doesn't like me. I feel rejected. That's the experience of it, right? So we can change our perception, we can change our experience. And then the third piece is your response. That's what you do about it, what you do next, your behavior, your reaction. Okay. So perception, experience, response. How you think about it, how you feel about it, what you do about it. So the kind of three areas of control that we have. Main areas. There are some others, but these are the ones I really want you to pay attention to right now because they are the kind of the most powerful pivot points in changing your ability to respond to whatever it is that's bothering you, challenging you, not working for you in your relationship. Being able to do this, right? Like building these skills of really of having choices, in your perception, experience, and response. That's the foundation of relational intelligence and skillfulness. Changing any one of those, how you think about a problem, how you feel about it, how you react to it, is going to change the rest, right? Changing how you feel changes how you think about it and how you respond. And right, so they like affect one another in this circle. It- Changing any one of them affects the others, and it's going to change the outcome of the interaction you're having with the partner, right? It's going to change your ability to actually resolve the issue. Maybe that's how we should talk about it, right? There's the issue, which is the thing that you want to change or solve, resolve, thing you don't like. And there's the problem, which is the way that you're dealing with the issue. The problem is the thing we really need to work on, which is our skill in dealing with issues. Does that make sense? Okay. And I want to take this a little bit deeper for you even, which is to add another layer in naming that how you feel about how you feel. And I would add even how you feel about how you're thinking, how you feel about how you're responding, often matters more than the feelings or thoughts or acts themselves. Now, I know there's research that shows that how we feel about how we feel is more important in terms of how we're affected and how it affects our lives. For example, if you struggle with anxiety, how you feel about the anxiety uh, impacts your life more than the anxiety yourself, right? Um, Being sad in your relationship isn't like the real. Uh, I mean, it sucks. But it's not the thing that is going to cause the most suffering. Feeling ashamed that you're sad or feeling critical of yourself for feeling sad, that's where real suffering lies, right? But I think the same can be applied to feeling judgmental of how you're thinking or feeling ashamed of how you acted. Those meta experiences, the experience of an experience that we're having, how we feel, the story we tell about an experience, about our feelings, thoughts, behaviors, that also is going to affect you and your ability to deal with issues. Okay. And so this is where our relationship skills really turn inward to our relationship with ourselves, which I got to say is often at the root of how we deal with problems. Just let that sit for a minute. Your relationship with yourself and your ability to relate powerfully to yourself, relate lovingly, compassionately to yourself, regardless of how you feel, think, or acted, that is often at the root of your ability to deal with issues outside of yourself. So there's a both and. And the lovely thing about improving your relationship skills, improving your relationship intelligence, like doing this relational work, is that relationships are relationships are relationships. We learn how to do relationship better with our partners, you're going to do relationship better with yourself and vice versa. And it ripples out into all of our relationships, relationship with money, with business, with team, with family, with kids, with our bodies, right? Like relationships. Okay. So, one other point that I wanted to make, when there is an issue in your marriage, the truth is that no one is to blame, but everyone is responsible. I'm going to say that again. No one is to blame, but everyone is responsible. Now, you might want to argue with me about situations where one person is to blame because they did this terrible thing, right? Like they had the affair, or they lied, or they drank too much, or broke a promise, and they're to blame for that, and that was a problem that created a problem in our marriage. Well, remember, the problem isn't the problem. Problem is how you're dealing with the problem. So that's the issue. And even in the issue, blame is not going to help anybody. Like, you're both responsible. Yes, your partner is responsible for their behaviors, 100%. I'm not saying that you're responsible for their behaviors. I would never say that. Please do not get me wrong. I am not saying you are responsible for another person's behavior ever, because you are not ever responsible for another person's behavior. You're not even responsible for another person's feelings. We are all responsible for those within ourselves. Yep. So we're responsible for our own stuff. But when I say that no one is to blame, I mean that there's always context around issues that come up. We are in relationship, we are in ecosystem with one another, and issues in relationship don't like, especially when we understand that, like, how we're dealing with the issue is really the thing that's causing the problem in our marriage. Because, like, if your partner did a thing that caused harm, but you both could deal with it really powerfully and lovingly, would it still be a problem? Hmm. Yeah, I'm just letting that one sit. If your partner did something, or if there was a circumstance that like if whatever circumstance you don't like existed, but you and your partner knew how to deal with it really powerfully and lovingly and together, would there still be a problem? Hmm. Okay. So this is where, like, why are we blaming? No one is to blame. Like, the problem came from somewhere, and there's a gift in all the problems. Everybody is responsible for how we deal with it. So this is a liberating truth connected with this idea that the problem is not the problem. The way you deal with the problem is the problem in your marriage. Okay? We cannot solve problems, let alone have a happy marriage, when you're in me versus you energy. You have to be able to move into you and me versus the problem, with each of you taking ownership of your part in the solution and in how you are dealing with the problem. That's it. Now, as you may know, I like to share stories and examples about these liberating assumptions. And as I was thinking about, like, what story I could tell here, I had a hard time narrowing it down because it's literally everything. The problem is not the problem is like literally everything. So it's like my cat, my cat Sully loves to attack my cat Sassy. It's like not okay, random, but bear with me. Okay. Problem is not the problem. He attacks her and he's mean to her. That's the problem. Um, no, the problem is how we're dealing with the problem. The problem is that, like, he's bored and needs to be, like, played with more and have more activity in his life so that he doesn't have to get out his hunting instincts on his sister. And so our dealing with the problem by, like, yelling at him and being angry with him, and or isolating him, is going to make the problem work, right? How we deal with the problem. Um, our kids leaving their shoes by the front door, like scolding them, punishing them. The way we deal with the problem, is that actually going to solve the problem? The problem isn't that they're leaving their shoes by the front door instead of putting their shoes away in the shoe cubbies. The problem is how we're dealing with it. The problem is that we are creating conflict and disharmony in our home by the way we meaning me, I'm going to own that, um, allow myself to get upset and yell instead of reminding them or collaborating with them to create a solution to make it easier for them to remember, or allowing it to be okay for them to be kids who are coming home from school and maybe have to run to the bathroom. I don't know, right? The problem is not the problem. There's not enough time for all the things. Like, that's a problem. There's not enough time. So busy. Life is so busy, and that's a problem. No, how you're dealing with the problem is the problem. Actually, I mean, this has been part of my life's journey as an entrepreneur, is figuring out my relationship with time, how I deal with busyness, right? That is really what the problem is. Do I let myself get primal? Do I let myself get stressed? Do I let myself feel panicked? Because when I do that, everything takes longer and I don't get as much done and I have a crappy day and I tend to make mistakes and then time takes longer, right? For example. Is the problem really time, or is the problem the way I'm thinking about time and the way I'm dealing with the tasks in front of me? Cal responding defensively. This was like my handful of, like, quick stories. Hopefully you're getting the point, right? Cal responding defensively. Are his defensive responses the problem, or is it the way that we are responding to his defensiveness that is the problem? Because I know I historically have responded to his defensiveness with anger and frustration and criticism around his defensiveness, and he has responded to his defensiveness with shame and guilt and not good enough feelings. And does that make defensiveness go away? No, as we have learned to respond to defensiveness with like gentleness and collaborative, like naming and accountability, the way we deal with it, that, like, as partners, like me and Cal against the problem of the defensive part of him that shows up sometimes, that actually resolves the issue. So it's everywhere, guys. And where I want to end is to say this. Understanding this liberating assumption is like the master key, my friends. This is the thing to learn so that you can have all that you have ever dreamed of in your relationships and in your life. To learn how to deal with the things that some part of you is perceiving as a problem or an issue. Imagine what becomes possible when you stop attacking each other and start attacking the problems, the issues together. Conflict stops becoming this like wedge that gets in between you two. It becomes instead like these issues become an opportunity to workshop together. Every challenge turns into this doorway, this opportunity for growth or learning and improving, co-creating the life that you want together. You stop being afraid of problems and challenges when they show up in your relationship. I mean, sure, they're still going to be annoying and inconvenient, but they're not going to be nearly as distressing or disruptive because they're not going to hold the same meaning to you. You're going to know that you and your spouse know how to deal with them, and that ultimately they're going to lead to some kind of improvement. So instead of draining you, your relationship now becomes this great source of energy and creativity and support that can fuel everything else that you're building. And so this is the kind of like learning and growth and movement that we are creating and practicing inside the Relationship Revolution membership program. Each week, we don't just like learn this stuff. We are practicing them through activations and reflections designed to transform how we're showing up in our relationships. And this week, in addition to the activation, I'm going to drop a bonus training with a tool to help you create a quick and powerful shift to deal with challenges even easier. So if you're not in the Relationship Revolution yet, but you are ready to stop fighting the wrong fight and start transforming your marriage from the inside out, then I would love to have you join us. The Relationship Revolution is just $147 a month, and you can cancel anytime, right? Like, I don't understand. If you want to have an extraordinary marriage, I'm trying to make this, I want to make this as easy a yes as possible, because truly I am on a mission to revolutionize how we're doing relationships. And I want you in it so that you can be a part of this movement, my friend. And you deserve it. So if you don't like it, $150, it's like a fancy dinner date, maybe. And we'll lovingly say goodbye. And if you find the value that I truly believe is there, then stick around and watch your relationship change. You're going to get the tools, you're going to get the support, you're going to get the community, you're going to get the weekly practices to move from the cognitive learning into the embodiment that creates real transformation. And it works even if your partner's not going to do the work with you. So that's my little pitch. I would love for you to join me. The link is in the description of this Catalyst conversation. Next week, I was thinking of continuing the liberating assumptions conversations, but I think I'm going to table that and do a part 2 a little bit later, because I have been inspired to do a new series and I'm really excited to start this one. I think I'm going to call it Shit That's Got to Change. And I hope to see you there for my first episode, the title for which I have not yet decided on. But that's the series name, I think. Shit That's Gotta Change. Remember, I drop a new Catalyst conversation live every Friday, 12:30 p.m. Pacific. Until then, keep leading with love.